Hello and welcome to Casual Shenanigans, episode 22. I'm one of your hosts, Germ Gaming. This is a podcast all about Battlefield, DayZ, Arma, everything PC and gaming related. I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Dave.
Hey folks, I am Dave, the not-so-evil Viking 13.
And Joel.
Hey guys.
And we have special guest, daskro.
Hey guys.
And Mantis.
What's up?
So, this episode is going to be mostly focused on PAX Prime, which most of us didn't go to, but daskro and Mantis did, so they're going to be able to tell us all about Battlefield and everything that happened there. Which means I only have two news items for this week, and one of them directly relates to the panel you guys sat in on, so I'm just going to skip it. The only piece of... because we're going to be talking about Battlefield in just a minute anyway, so... So, only other piece of news I had for this week was that Star Citizen has passed $17 million in funding, shortly after releasing this semi-interactive hangar module where players can walk around their pre-ordered ships and gaze on them in all of their CryEngine glory. Some people are critical of the microtransactions that are starting to pop up, like a glorified golf cart that people can use to drive around their hangars. Who would like to guess how much the glorified golf cart costs in real money?
$1 million.
Not quite. This
I'm
is
gonna guess
EA.
$5.
20.
No way. For like
$20,
a theater mode for your ship?
No, not for the theater mode. For a buggy you can drive around in theater mode.
Right,
Wow.
but it's just for that theater mode.
Correct.
Wow.
It's for people who are desperate to play the game, and it makes them feel like they're doing something. It's worth mentioning that's like, I kickstarted the game for $33, and that got me a ship and a copy of the final game when it comes out. So that's a really craptastic deal. But whatever. I mean, people seem to be happy. The module itself is actually pretty fun. You can look at your ship. I only have the one ship, so my hangar looks really boring. I have the smallest, wimpiest, crappiest ship.
Wait,
But-
Jeremiah, are you poor in a game? Isn't it playing games to like escape and improve your life and escape from reality?
What was that supposed to mean?
Glass houses and all.
Anyway, so that is all of the news except for all of the Battlefield news, which is mostly what we're going to be talking about this week. So PAX Prime, like we said, happened, and there was a lot of Battlefield news, and I am wholly unqualified to talk about all of it because I wasn't there. So
Makes sense to me.
yeah, would one of you guys like to take it away with what new stuff did we learn about Battlefield at PAX?
Do you want to start off, daskro, or do you want me to?
I mean, I can start off a little bit, I suppose, with
All right, go for it.
with what I saw. Now, granted, guys, I have to admit something here. I actually didn't even play Battlefield 4 at PAX. I stood and watched it a bit, but the reason being is that it actually looked like a pretty shitty build. And I'm not trying to be mean in saying that, but
It is.
It was supposed to be an Xbox One build. It was on PC with an Xbox controller. I'm not a console guy, and so as such, I really didn't want to even try it. Now, I did play Titanfall, and I knew that wasn't going to be on PC either, but I did give it a try nonetheless because it's a new game. Would give that a shot since it's the new Relapse, I believe. Is that right? The name of the studio that's doing Titanfall?
Relapse Entertainment.
Does anyone know?
I think it's Infinity Ward actually.
Well, it's the old Infinity Ward, right?
Oh, yeah,
Respawn.
Respawn.
Relapse Entertainment. We're going in for another one.
Why was the build, though, so bad at PAX for Battlefield 4? Well, I think the issue was that a number of the default guns weren't even there, so the engineering kit, for instance, didn't have rockets, so you couldn't kill tanks with it. And you get a tank, and you could basically dominate the entire game as long as you could dodge helicopters, excuse me. And so it just didn't look that appealing for that build. There wasn't really much that I saw that was really new about the game beyond that. Mantis, did you see anything in particular that was noteworthy to describe?
No, the whole presentation there was kind of shitty, in all honesty. It wasn't DICE or EA, it was a bunch of Xbox people, and they had like 24 PCs, I guess, and when I waited in line and got to play, like 7 of them were shut off. They weren't even going. And this was on day one of PAX, and I'm like, that's not a good way to start things off.
That's terrible.
It sounds way worse than the Gamescom setup.
Yeah, it felt like it was really thrown together. So when I got to play, I think it was only like 6v6, and it was on Shanghai Siege Conquest Large. So there was like nobody on the map to find and kill, and and they were all on PCs using Xbox controllers. And I actually asked the guy in line, like, "Yo, can I use the keyboard and mouse?" Because they had all the keyboard and mice stored underneath. Because every time they reset the round, they had to pull out the keyboard and mice to reset it.
So they can use a controller.
And I haven't used a controller on a console in literally years, probably the better part of a decade. I haven't owned a console since Nintendo 64. So when I actually played, when I tried to aim, I was literally like this. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, so I was like, fuck it, and I just started running around with the knife, and I actually did knife one guy, so...
Of course you did, Mantis. Of course you managed to pull it off.
And I think I was in a tank too a little bit at one point, and I got a couple of kills there. But yeah, as daskro said, no one could shoot you with RPGs because you couldn't pick RPGs or change your kit or.
So tanks were pretty much invincible.
Yeah, it was pretty much invincible except other tanks. The enemy tanks could shoot you, and yeah, it was an old build. It was like it looked like it was from E3, so.
So I wonder why would they come out with such an old build? Unless you said it was like just the Xbox guys doing it, it wasn't an actual EA or DICE setup?
I guess they threw all the resources into making it awesome at Gamescom, and since PAX was like less than a week after that, they would just kind of half-assed it. I mean, I don't know.
I heard talk that it felt like it was actually even a pre-E3 build, like the build at E3 felt more stable and more complete than what was at PAX.
That's a possibility.
I do have to agree with that because I'll tell you that having gone to E3 and played the E3 build extensively, this build looked a whole lot worse. It really did feel like a pre-E3 build because at least in the E3 build you had engineers that had RPGs. You had those kind of things in the game that made it balanced. In this, it really didn't feel that way at all.
So, did we learn anything new about Battlefield 4 at PAX? Like, was there lots of Battlefield news, or did they just kind of fall on their faces?
No, there really wasn't anything new. Unfortunately.
I would agree with Mantis. There wasn't anything that was profound or surprising or anything else around those lines. I think In the Works Media, or Jake from In the Works Media, had made a comment that the machines were in ATI or AMD 7970s, which is a pretty beefy setup, more beefy than what we'll see on Xbox One, and as such, will that mean that what we saw at PAX be sort of a less than representation of what we'll see in Xbox One? I don't know, but it's a good hypothesis.
Something interesting I heard about the Xbox One just this week was that Microsoft is actually bumping up the core speed. I guess they forgot about the Xbox 360's Red Ring of Death problem where the consoles got too hot and overheated and died, but they're bumping the clock speed up from 1.6 to 1.72 gigahertz, which is just
keep
enough.
That tradition.
Yeah, it's just enough to not matter at all. I can't imagine that an extra 120 megahertz per core is going to make that big a difference, but that's probably not a good sign that they've already decided they need to overclock the console. But yeah, I don't know.
I was reading more that it's this fact that the system's kind of locked down now, that they know the final specs, so they were able to just keep tweaking it. It's not really like, hey, let's make it faster. It's more of like, we have the final specs, now we can do whatever we want with it.
I guess. So it's weird. Sorry, go ahead.
It's important to recognize, though, about when they make the actual CPU cores on the big wafer, you have essentially a number of them that will be faulty for every wafer that they create, and you can actually downclock them, if you will, in order to get more of them to work within that given wafer. They may have more assurances, more confidence that when they continue to make these dies, that they will be able to get more out of them, and as such, they can increase the clock speeds a little bit. The alternative is, to your point, is that it could just be about performance, and that they may actually be risking a lot more failures in the interim as the quality is a lot more questionable before they really get down that learning curve and able to make a more reliable CPU.
I'm looking forward to seeing a teardown on like iFixit or something of the new Xbox One, because my brother actually fixed the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Deaths. Like, he had a little business fixing them for a while, and he showed me the setup. He didn't really know anything about computers. He just fixed Xboxes, and the CPU setup on the original ones was terrible. I can't imagine how that got out of a factory with someone saying, "Yep, this will work." I mean, it just the heatsink mounting, everything was absolutely horrible. So,
yeah, I saw it before. Yeah, the first original, like, really white looking plastic one.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I was like, it's like duct tape. Kind of looks like those Taiwanese. It's like, I bought an iPhone. And you open it up, it's like a brick. Crap.
Legit technology.
So, we're like a month out from the Battlefield 4 beta launching.
Yeah.
And this was isn't this the last big event before the Battlefield 4 beta launches?
They're in Tokyo now, aren't they?
For Tokyo Game Show?
I don't know. Are they? I thought they were.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, I know Tokyo Game Show is going to happen, but I mean, how are you guys feeling about Battlefield 4 going into the beta? Even though, like, contrasting it with the Battlefield 3 beta, since they're kind of doing it the same way, do you feel better about Battlefield 4, or does it feel a little rushed?
From what I've seen at Gamescom, it seems like EA is more confident this time around. I remember back in the Battlefield 3 beta days, just all the hilarious glitches that were going around Reddit on r/gaming with the stretched necks and falling through terrain and all, whereas this time, they had multiple hours of live streaming of the beta builds, so they seem pretty confident this time around.
Would you guys agree, who've gotten to play it?
I'm really excited to play it. Just about the same level of excitement I was for BF3, so I can't wait. Regardless of how many bugs there'll be, because
we know there'll be plenty.
Yeah,
Like
there's always lots of bugs in Battlefield games, so whatever.
I, for one, am really excited about the BF4 beta. I think it's going to be a whole lot better than what we saw in BF3, just from the presentations we've seen in Gamescom and at E3. In addition to that, I'm actually going to EA Studios next week to play BF4 in sort of an exclusive kind of deal. So I'll get to see sort of one build perhaps closer to the open beta and be able to have a better judgment then. But I think it's going to be by leaps and bounds better than the experience we saw in BF3.
Nice.
What I'm most concerned about is the reliability. When the Battlefield 3 beta launched, it was really bad. And when the final game launched for the first couple days, it was really bad. Like, it was hard to get in matches. Stuff just stopped working constantly. And they were able to get most of it ironed out. It's still not that reliable of a game, honestly. But I'm hoping that they've learned enough from that it's going to be better this time around. Because the first week or two of Battlefield 3 was really frustrating. I don't know if they hurt themselves that much long term, but it was... there's going to be so many diehard fans and all the new fans they picked up with Battlefield 3 who are going to be wanting to play this on day 1, day 2, day 3. And I am a little bit worried that experience is still going to be pretty crummy. But I guess that's all speculation at the moment. We won't know until we see it.
Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful because DICE had a huge scope for Battlefield 3. They tried to do so much. Battle Log was all new. That was a whole new system. New engine, the biggest Battlefield game since Battlefield 2. There was just a lot on their plate. And so this time around, I'm hoping for just a greater level of polish all around.
So, have you guys seen on the Battlefield blog, the new blog post about weapons and accessories? It's new as of today. It
as
came
of
out
like 4 hours ago.
Yeah, as of like 4 hours ago. Dave, have you read it?
I have scanned it briefly.
Okay, all right.
I was at work, and I've only been home like an hour, so no, I haven't seen it.
They released a blog post talking about weapon customization and accessories and everything, and they said there's going to be over 240,000 variations of things you can do with your weapons.
That's not nearly enough. We need at least 500,000.
Yeah,
that's just unacceptable.
I mean, Borderlands has like 2 quadrillion guns. Now, there's some interesting new things. They say adaptive camos to match your surroundings. I'm assuming that doesn't mean real-time adaptive camo, because that's not something that exists. But they'll have autumn, desert, naval, snow, urban, and woodland, which isn't... and those paints will come in 16 different pattern variations each. That's like your 240,000 different combos right there, is that they've got 50 different paints.
Colors.
They're totally pulling a Call of Duty there. But yeah, they call it adaptive camo. It's not really adaptive. You just have to pick it ahead of time.
It's useful for those people that always forget to change their camos.
Yeah.
Can we say camos per map yet? I wonder, because that would be actually useful.
That would be very
camo
cool.
per map.
I doubt that's a thing. Oh yeah, there's a new scope. There's a 40x scope. 40.
That's actually so you can engage enemies in orbit around the Earth.
I mean, seriously.
What is the highest in Battlefield 3?
12. And that one's...
Oh my gosh.
Come on,
I mean,
big
and
maps.
12 is pretty good. Like, you can snipe
I'm
pretty much
using that
clear
on a
across
shotgun.
maps.
I don't care how far away he is. If he pisses me off, I'm still gonna knife him.
Well, don't worry. If you're running towards him, there's no way he's going to track you with a 40x scope. If you breathe, it'll move like 10 feet to the
No,
side.
he won't see me coming. Don't worry.
They've also added a 2x scope magnifier that you can put in front of an existing 1x scope to increase your optics options. So you can have like presumably a 4x ACOG and then turn that into an 8x on the fly. So that's pretty cool. I'll be honest, 40x, I can't imagine that's going to be that useful. I mean, most of the time, 12x isn't that useful.
Yeah, really.
Unless they have a stupidly huge map that.
Yeah,
you need it
unless
for.
they've got like a map that's 5 times the size of anything they've done before, but unless they bump the player count up, that map's going to suck.
I mean, Caspian Border would be pretty big, but the fact that it has mountains and stuff, you wouldn't see across. Like, if it was just flat, you could see all the way across, then it could be useful.
Yeah, if they have a flat map that's 30 square miles, I could see that scope coming in useful, but...
30 square miles. I'm just going to angle it up at the sun, and it just arcs, and like 5 hours later, when I log back in, and it kills someone.
They're also going to have mounted guns sitting around. They're calling them battle pickups. Or not mounted, stuff like at different corners of the maps you can go get.
With limited ammo, too. So when you pick it up, you have just a few magazines worth.
So that's kind of actually borrowing something from more old school FPSs. But yeah, that's kind of cool. What else did they announce? They
on the note of customization, how many of you
go
guys played the last Medal of Honor that came out last year?
Yeah, I did. Very briefly.
The best part of that game was the gun customization. I spent more time, I think, customizing my guns than actually playing the game.
Well, you would do that most of the time anyway. Most things.
This reminds me a lot of that, as far as like the style of the graphics, the depth of the features, the redundant accessories that do the exact same thing but look cool. I'm pretty excited just to dive in and never actually play the game again.
Yeah, you're saying you're pretty excited to play with all the accessories that don't affect gameplay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Gun Simulator 2013.
Be honest, if there was just a version of the game where you could just hop in and look at high-res gun models and just play with attachments all day long, you would do that.
How much would that cost me?
Maybe if that was packaged in, they're doing the new feature. There's going to be a range like the Arma 2 Armory where you can go and try stuff out, which is good because whenever someone joins the game, you can say, "Hey, you want to learn how to fly a chopper? Go here.
Get out.
Don't hop into a game.
Get out and do it elsewhere."
I imagine most people still will try to crash the choppers in game relentlessly, but it'll at least make it easier to teach people stuff instead of having to hop into an empty server and then try to learn things while other people are hopping in and killing you. So, you can
also get some practicing on like some more high-end maneuvers and stuff like that, because it's pretty easy sometimes to jump into an actual game and get the basics down, but when you're fighting really, really good players, you never actually get to advance beyond like, oh, okay, I'm not hitting the ground anymore. Maybe if you have that armory mode, you can actually get some more actual practice in and really get better beyond just being able to keep it in the air.
How are you
on
going
a
to practice that
scale.
if you're not having anyone to fight against?
I think there's going to be AI. Is there going to be AI or some kind of targets you can engage? I'm not sure
don't
if
know. That would
we've
be
heard
nice.
yet. Yeah.
So, Mantis and daskro. So at PAX, if Battlefield was a little bit of a letdown, was there new cool stuff there that we haven't seen at other conferences this year?
Well, I think daskro will agree with me on this. The game that surprised me the most was Extraction.
What is Extraction? I'm actually not familiar with it.
Yeah, I didn't actually hear of it until I got there too. It's made by Splash Damage and Nexon, and I think they did Brink.
Ugh.
It was yeah, but their presentation was excellent. They had 20 PCs, I believe. So, and it was 5v5. So they had two groups of people going at once. And the people waiting in line, they had a big TV explaining how to play the game and the different classes and whatnot. And when you actually played, everyone had a headset so you could all talk to each other. And they had a dev on with a headset on too, giving instructions on how to play if you needed them. You played, each side got to play attacking and defending, so you got to play a good amount of time.
Yeah,
And
it was a squad kind of, or a rush kind of game mode, right, Manus?
yeah, it was. They only had the one map and the one game mode. Like the attacking team had to like hack a system by some train tracks, and then after that they had to blow up a rail car with C4, and the defending team had to stop that from happening. It had a lot of similar elements to Battlefield in that you had classes that threw an ammo box and dropped airstrikes, and then you had another class that was a medic with a med bag and defibs. There was 5 classes, and you could pick each of them, but it was only 5v5. So it could be good in esports, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I had a lot of fun with it because you had that headset and the microphone up, and you could talk with all your teammates. And we were playing. I think we played with an entire squad of 5 of everyone that we knew. The first time we played. Second time it was just 3 of us. We played with 2 little kids who were barking orders left and right. And it was kind of funny because we were dominating so much on this given round that we were just like, guys, let's just let him take the first MCOM because this is getting boring. And the dad's like, oh, okay, that's probably a pretty good idea. We had a good time with that. But it was a really fun game. It's a very fast-paced sort of version of Squad Rush, or what's the word? The game on Call of Duty. I want to say Search and Destroy, but I couldn't mistake it.
Yeah, Search and Destroy.
Yeah,
well, I mean that is,
and it was, and so it was like that. It was a lot of fun, a lot more fast paced. It had sort of the class variety that you usually see within Battlefield, with guys that could be recon, almost sort of like a scout kind of character from TF2. You had a party guy, you had a medic guy, you had a heavy weapons dude. It was a lot of fun, and it sort of visually looked similar to TF2, albeit a bit more photorealistic, not as cartoonish. But overall, it was a really cool game, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm definitely gonna give it a second chance when I get an opportunity.
Yeah, we all signed up for the closed beta, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, and they also had a tournament for it, and we all really wanted to do it, but we all had to fly out on Monday, so we couldn't. And I think we would have done really well because the 4 of us were just stomping the other team, but unfortunately we couldn't.
Yeah, the one
Titanfall?
suggestion I have for anyone who goes to these kind of events is always check your mouse settings. Always know when you're going into a given beta build, have an idea of how many rotations you usually take to go when you go from one side of the mouse pad to the other side of the mouse pad. If you can get that down, memorize that you do like a 380-degree turn, or if you have really, really low sensitivity, like maybe a 240-degree turn. If you know that, you can get your settings down really quickly in terms of changing it, because these PCs usually don't have any advanced configuration. They're on super, super high DPI, default settings on these mice. And so change it all the way down with the in-game sensitivity, and you'll wreck face. You know how to configure that, and you'll be better than 90% out there.
I'd probably have to. I normally play on a DPI setting of or a sensitivity like 800, and I know Dave uses like over 2,000.
1,600.
1,600.
right now,
okay.
yeah,
That's
I went
crazy
down
high.
a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not nearly as high as most people on that. So yeah, what other cool stuff did you see at PAX? Was Titanfall any good?
I actually didn't get to play it.
Oh, that sucks.
I kept checking the line all the time, but it was always check back in 15 minutes. We're not allowing any more people in the line.
Nice.
But
must have been popular then.
yeah,
Jeez.
it was. I did get to watch people play it, and it looks really cool. But I can't really comment. Other than that, I didn't get to play it. daskro got to play it, though.
Yes,
so.
I did get to play it. And,
Oh,
and
he
I'll
says
tell you
smugly.
what's really cool about Titanfall is that it has some of the sort of arcadey gun elements of Call of Duty with the sort of free movement that you see within the Quake series. And so you're jumping over buildings, across buildings. And you also sort of have that vehicle-based element that you have in Battlefield, with the Titans come on down. They come at sort of 2-minute rotations, and you can either get in it and utilize it the first person, or you can have it follow you or guard a given area, depending on what you want to do with your objectives. You have different classes in loadout. Every class has the ability to kill the Titan, but some Titan killer weapons are better than others. Excuse me. But overall, it's a really fun, exciting game. This was just TDM. They're going to have multiple game modes. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a ton of fun to play because it's so much faster paced than a traditional Call of Duty game because you can scale up the walls. You can. It almost has some of those elements that we saw in Mirror's Edge in that respect. So it was a lot of fun.
It's faster paced than Call of Duty. That sounds like something I'm really going to like because we haven't really had any super fast paced Unreal Tournament, Quake style games. Probably since the first Modern Warfare. I think Call of Duty kind of put the nail in the coffin of a lot of those.
I mean, the closest thing that we see nowadays is games like Shoot Mania, which are really far in the Quake abstraction. No, nothing really closer in that Call of Duty realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Titanfall looked really fun because I really like the jetpacks in Halo 4. Like, always using that, just flying everywhere.
When are they hoping to release? They have a hard date picked, or is it sometime in 2014?
I want to say it was like first or second quarter 2014, I think.
Okay, so they're definitely waiting until Battlefield 4 and Call of Duty have been out for a couple months. That's pretty smart. I was thinking that because it sounds like a really cool new IP, but if they release this fall or next fall, they're probably going to get crushed.
Yep.
For whatever reason, like
Why
so many
join the
multiplayer
throwdown?
games that come out, but when it comes to first-person shooters, people seem to only want to have one or two that they play. It's at least it seems that way to me. So.
I think that's true. Like, Battlefield is always one of my standby games. Like, no matter what else I'm playing, I have a Battlefield game installed for, like, quick rounds, whenever, always.
So, something interesting I wanted to talk about was you guys were in the PC Gamer World Congress panel with a bunch of PC gaming developers. First of all, I'm extremely jealous of you. Secondly, I guess no one tried to assassinate Rocket for DayZ not being out yet. Sounds like he made it home safely. No. But he did make a slightly controversial comment when he said that if DICE wanted to kill Arma, all they'd have to do is release modding support for Battlefield 3. And he was really trying to make a larger point from what it sounds like, that it sucks that modding support, DICE kind of gave it up after Battlefield 2. I don't think his main point was that, Arma 3 would be killed if DICE released modding tools, but what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think, I don't think modding tools could possibly work for Battlefield, just given the type of game it's turned into. I think they've moved far enough away from some of the more hardcore aspects of Battlefield 2 that if you release modding tools, it's just going to be a bunch of really hacked up, broken servers.
Well, I don't want to speak for Rocket, but I think his quote wasn't quite saying that, like, Arma's a bad product that would be just instantly destroyed by any kind of competition. I think what he was saying was the possibility for great mods in the Frostbite engine is just so big that would just draw in an insane amount of people so easily, and that would just be a like free market, basically. What do you guys think?
That's actually exactly what I thought too, because I was like, Arma's a great game, but polished, it's not even close. Nowhere. In Battlefield 3 and 4, we're not going to be polished for the next 10 years. But and they're a really polished game comparatively. So yeah, if they allowed mods just to be able to just mess around and just come up with games in Battlefield, Arma could get shut down pretty easily.
I don't think so, because Arma's for a different set of people. That's
Arma survived with almost no audience for a long time.
But the thing is, it is because why? What other games are there that are really like Arma? Do you think? I can't think of.
There aren't. There really aren't.
There's some really crappy. What's that one? Military
Operation Flashpoint is the remains of the original.
No, not that one.
IP.
It's
a similar
America's
game.
Army.
Yeah, like something like that. That's
America's
back
Army
in the
isn't really competing with it.
No, it isn't. But I'm like, I can't think of any. So it's the same with, I think, a game can come out like DayZ and trump DayZ if you had a really big studio behind it with some good ideas and a lot more money and a lot more people, So
it could, but it would probably
it'd
be missing some of the magic, though. One of the reasons that Bohemia does some of the cool stuff they do is because they don't really have to answer to that many people.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
There's no most of the stuff
but now that it's done, though, people know it works. So it's just a matter of time.
That's true.
Maybe.
I do feel like DICE isn't necessarily anti-mod. At least that's the vibe I've gotten, and I'm kind of buying some of the excuses they've given on the technical side of things, that the Frostbite engine is not just one entity by itself. You can't just deploy a software development kit of Frostbite. You've got probably hundreds of $1,000s of third-party plugins and software that all comes together to make Frostbite what it is. and they can't really just give that software away in an SDK for modders. And I think that's probably the main reason that mod tools are being held back. Because modern
Frostbite's
engines
not really being used by a lot of games either.
lots of EA games now.
Yeah, they're starting to.
How many games comparative to like Unreal Engine? I'm saying.
Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll Google it.
Well, you're looking at Need for Speed, Plants vs Zombies, and Command and Conquer right off the bat.
2 RPGs too.
So that's 3 games.
That's 3 games all being released in the next year and a half.
Well,
okay,
in the next year and a half. I'm saying it hasn't been out yet.
All right, Joel. Battlefield Bad Company. These are using Frostbite 1, 2, and 3. Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield 1943, Bad Company 2, Medal of Honor, just the multiplayer. Bad Company 2 Vietnam, Battlefield 3, Need for Speed The Run, Medal of Honor Warfighter, Army of 2, The Devil's Cartel, The New Command and Conquer.
Did you just pull the Wikipedia?
4.
Is that what you did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, come on. That's cheating. I mean, you're not doing enough memory.
Need for Speed Rivals. I don't know why Plants vs. Zombies is using the Frostbite engine. I can't imagine what, like,
but I think,
things.
well, actually, there's a reason for that, and that's what I want to bring up here, is that EA has been very explicit within their financial statements in that they are betting the farm on the Frostbite engine for all their future games, because they believe that with the Frostbite engine, they can create games faster. The architecture allows them to develop games at a much more faster paced schedule, which means that you have less time dedicated to the back end of things. Instead, you can do more things with new content instead. That's what they believe in. That's what they're pursuing right now. So that's really what their strategy is. Now, that also may also answer the question of why we wouldn't have mod tools. If they release mod tools for the Frostbite engine, it then sort of opens up a Pandora's box for modding every EA game that's out there, since it's all built off the same engine. That may be a concern from them from a piracy perspective. It may be a concern from them from an anti-cheat perspective. But that is one more angle. EA definitely is betting the farm on this.
That is true. And so, Joel, also, games that haven't come out yet, but these are massive franchises using that engine. Dragon Age Inquisition, Mirror's Edge 2, Star Wars Battlefront, and the next Mass Effect game are all supposedly using Frostbite. So that's like
Battlefront, my body is ready.
Well, I mean, just Command and Conquer, Battlefield, Need for Speed, Dragon Age, Mirror's Edge, Battlefront, and Mass Effect are using Frostbite.
Yeah,
that's a pretty impressive roster.
I was only just saying, like, I didn't know.
Shut down.
If they were using, I didn't know if Frostbite had a zillion games out there like Unreal Engine, where they're like, there's so many games that it's like we might as well release the mod tool since it's been out for freaking forever. Where Frostbite 3 or 2.5 or whatever hasn't been out that insanely long. I don't know.
Epic Games makes a lot of money off of those licenses of the engine, whereas EA will probably make more money by keeping it locked down inside of their publishing circle than by trying to license it out, where competition can get a hold of it and maybe even compete with like shooters and other games against their own IP. I think they're kind of holding their cards close to the chest with that one.
And Frostbite is a really good engine.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say the Cry engine can look a little prettier, but it doesn't seem to have all the destruction and everything that the Frostbite engine does, or at least I haven't seen that in games. But I really can't think of another engine that isn't proprietary and really crummy. I can't think of another well-running, well-developed engine that's better than Frostbite that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but
not with a feature set like Frostbite. I mean, you have I believe it's the Red engine that The Witcher 2 and 3 are going on. Mm-hmm. Visually, that's up there with CryEngine and Frostbite, but once again, you don't have the dynamic water physics, you don't have the destruction system, you don't have some of the same animation and cinematic tools. Frostbite is kind of the whole package there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but
it's related mostly. For once, actually, we're doing pretty good on that.
Yeah, probably when everyone probably hate me for this, but as much as I love Daisy, I'm not a huge mod person. I don't really like mods.
Well, the thing is,
only because I think Daisy's the only good experience I've ever had with a mod. Because as much as I like seeing the mods for Skyrim, like even just adding better graphics or whatever, every time I add a mod, and this is my experience, every time I add a mod to the game, I play it less and less because I feel like I'm playing less of the game I was supposed to be playing, where it makes it easier, it makes it whatever, and it changes it, and then I have a worse
That's very conditional on the type of mod you add. Some mods are just very tiny little things that just change small stuff about the games, like just a car replacement pack in Grand Theft Auto. That's a mod, and it just takes the weird car models that are trying to look exactly like a real world car without actually doing it, and it replaces those. Like those are pretty cool. Or the graphics update mods. Like you can grab an ENB mod for Skyrim, and it doesn't fundamentally change the game at all. It just makes it look a little prettier.
Because I was even huge into mods for just changing Windows, like just the experience, making things look better, the different docks and all this stuff.
Oh no, that's a great way to break Windows.
I know. Well, it wouldn't break, but I was just like, I just want the regular Windows again. Like I don't know. For me, I'm just kind of a standard guy. But.
Well, and that's one of the disadvantages of mods. The more you mod stuff, it's very easy to completely ruin and break a game and have to reinstall it and start from scratch.
Or create a phenomenon like Counter-Strike.
Yeah, there are the ones.
Which I like that, but me personally, I don't like mods.
I mean, Joel won't ever be the person who discovers the next Counter-Strike, is what he's saying.
There are the breakouts like Daisy and Counter-Strike and Team Fortress. Team Fortress started out as a mod.
Day of Defeat.
Day of Defeat. What else? I mean,
Joel, don't you have like 60 hours of Day of Defeat on your Steam account?
Shut up.
I remember a mod for Battlefield 2. For Battlefield 2 called Point of Existence 2.
I remember that too, yeah.
PoE. I loved that. That was phenomenal. I loved they had a lot more stuff in that than in the base game. Like,
yeah, there was more work in that game than some full releases I've seen.
It was incredible. And I remember one map called Fallen that was in a forest with all the trees. That was crazy. Like, I loved that mod. So
let's remember that in Battlefield 1942, Desert Combat was a mod, and DICE actually bought the development team. They actually hired all of them to do BF2, and BF2 really was the sequel in spirit, not to Battlefield Vietnam, but instead to Battlefield Desert Combat. And that's a really cool thing to think about in that respect, in that mod team had such a huge impact in creating the phenomenon that was Battlefield 2.
Yeah, I guess the real breakout mods, like, they pretty much create new games from it. And those are awesome, but they are definitely, like, they're the minority. They're the awesome minority, and I like that people do it, and I really enjoy seeing what they come up with. But then the majority of modding is just changing minor things about games. And that's probably, if we released Battlefield mod tools, I feel like that's what people would want to do more than creating more maps. Like, I doubt people would really be hankering for 30 more maps for Battlefield 3, but people probably would want mods to add voice support in game and to fix map updates, to fix the mini map. I know a lot of people have complaints about that. That's probably the types of mods we'd see, and that's probably why DICE doesn't want to do it. They probably wouldn't care if people were adding their own maps and stuff like that, if there was a way to do that without releasing actual mod tools. But most of the mods people want to do are probably things that actually compromise or alter the core game experience that they have put a lot of time and money. And
that would fracture the community too, because on official servers, you can't be letting people join that have changed mini maps or customized or even fixed things. You would have to lock down official servers to only have vanilla content. And if it was only small mods being released, then you've got 1,000 of these small mods. Everyone's running like a different combination. No one can play together anymore. That would be pretty bad for the community overall, as far as the multiplayer goes.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point in that respect as well. Because speaking from a low BF perspective, we created our own Battlefield 3 spectator tool set for Battlefield 3 for BF Esports, but in reality, it was a hack. It wasn't a mod that you could run any server. It was a hack that, in the right conditions, you could operate. And we purposely didn't distribute it to really anyone beyond the core set of people that do shoutcasts like myself, because we didn't want it to get out there. Because once we knew it got out there, that anyone would be using it, and then suddenly it's now another way that you can cheat in the game, as opposed to what our true intention for the mod or the hack was, which was to cast esports matches.
Yeah, I think Battlefield's big enough now that EA, and I mean they've done this, EA and DICE just kind of have to say, nope, if you want to play it, play it. If you don't like it, sorry. Because if they allowed modding, like, as much as it sounds nice to allow modding, to let modders get in there and work on stuff, I can't imagine it ended up being good for them overall. Like, it can only create more problems for them, and more security patches and more stuff being broken. And I mean, hackers aren't much of a problem in Battlefield, at least in my opinion.
Let Punkbuster be opened up. It can't get any worse.
Speaking of hackers, we could segue into the new battle log privacy settings.
Oh yes,
yeah.
yeah. You care a lot about this. Yeah,
Yes, me and daskro both care a lot about this.
Let's hear it, guys.
yeah.
Lay
Let's
down
hear
for
it.
us.
Well, in my case, obviously, I hunt pub stars and I knife them. But
That's kind of your thing.
That sounds really
that's
dark when you
my
just
thing.
lay it out there like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, in case anyone who's watching doesn't know, we have new battle log settings, privacy settings. You can go into your settings and you can make your the server you're playing on visible to everyone, visible to only your friends, or visible to only yourself. And by default, it's only to your friends. And the Battlefield YouTubers in particular have been hankering for this for a long, long time. More than a year and a half, I would guess. When the outcry started when Battlefield 3 Stalker came out, it's when it really blew up. Like guys like Level Cap and X Factor went crazy and made videos about it and blah 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 blah. And then you had all the copycats that watched my videos that go around trying to stab everyone, and then you have hackers that DDoS us and abuse us joining our games and screw up Battlefield 3 East competitive matches. daskro knows all about that. I've been DDoSed a few times myself and followed by hackers myself. So I think everyone's happy about that aspect of it, that there will still be ways for hackers and abusers to get into our servers and give us shit, but at least they just made it a little bit harder. So yeah, but daskro would love to talk about the esports side of things, I'm sure. So I'll let him talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how's that going to
so-
change it for esports?
Yes, let's talk about the privacy settings for battle log. So the issue that is really at hand for the Battlefield esports side of things is really twofold. One, we get DDoSed when we stream, so the streamers themselves get DDoSed, and that isn't that big of a deal, and that actually can be stopped in the sense of just hiding your IP address. The second issue is DDoS attacks on individual players and individual servers. So when we actually have these matches and they're being played, hackers will find the IP address of the servers, which are easily accessible because you can find the players of the server that they're playing on, and then once you do that, you can find the server IP address because it's publicly available, and then you DDoS it, and then the server goes down, and the whole match is ruined. Alternatively, they can find individual players by looking them up on Battlelog and see what servers they're on, and depending on if they've been on any anti-cheat websites recently, some anti-cheat websites allow you to look up the IP addresses of individual clients if they've been on certain public servers that have third-party applications running to do anti-cheat, like Punks Busted and things like that, or PB bans, excuse me. And in this, they also get attacked. These individual players get attacked. They get off. They get kicked off, and then the match can't be played. The Battlelog privacies go a step in the right direction because now individual players, they can't see whether or not they're playing or not. But if they're live streaming, or if I'm live streaming the match with even a 2 or 3 minute delay, they can still find the server, and it's really easy. I look for private servers that have passwords on it that are playing a certain map that I'm casting right now, and there are only going to be that many servers that are going to be actually populated that are doing non-PB, non-ranked password servers on Dom on Peak, or
Right.
in this case, what map is this? Armored Shield. Because of that, it still isn't there, and so we still have to go into very extreme circumstances in order to actually do esports casting, where we have to delay the matches by not 2 or 3 minutes like you see as standard for many other games out there, but instead an hour or 2 hours. And that is so absurd and so painstaking to do that it makes it very difficult. But we're still doing it, or alternatively, we just don't even do it live. We just rebroadcast it on YouTube and go from there. Step in the right direction. The server privacy settings really got to be there in Battlefield 4, though, for esports.
So it messes up Mantis's thing, but it sounds like overall, would you say it's a much needed improvement?
Yes, it's a step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
I actually didn't address that part thing. It doesn't actually. It makes it a little bit harder for me, but when I've made my first 3 parts, knifing Battlefield 3 Pub Stars, Battlefield 3 Stalker didn't exist. So
Oh, that's right. And you've got your secret way you use to find people.
I have. There are other ways to find people that you're trying to knife. I did not use Battlelog, so I'm fine. I'll still be getting everyone all over again for Battlefield 4.
That's terrifying.
But I am not sharing, obviously, because I don't want to cause.
Oh, you definitely shouldn't. Yeah.
I don't want a bunch of copycats ruining everyone's day. So it's definitely a part of the Battlefield experience that we've fortunately been spared from. I think, Dave, you've been recognized. You get recognized somewhat often playing Battlefield, but no one ever no one ever tries.
I've only gotten 2 hackers, only 2, and they were both the ones that are just very obvious. They come in the game and they basically spawn with a spawn beacon, kill you with a spawn beacon 20 times until you change servers, and they get bored with it eventually. But only 2 so far.
Yeah, in my case, everyone wants to knife me. So in most games, I always get a small group of people that are always out to get my tags, and they'll say so in chat. They'll be like, "Man, I'm going to knife you," and I'll be like, "Come on, come get them then," and then I'll knife them first, and then they rage, which is hilarious. But there have been a few instances, usually if I'm live streaming, where that one douchebag Panamon joins the game and hacks all of us, and actually DDoSes us, and we lose internet for like 5 to 15 minutes, and that's happened like 2 or 3 times to me. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit harder, but you never know.
And as far as ruining the live streaming, that's interesting. I didn't actually know that had been that big of a problem, but I mean, it illustrates how immature people can be about stuff. But
how we're not popular.
Well, it's a huge problem because one of the issues is that, so as an example, every time that I want to live stream and I know I'm going to have more than 10 people watching, I have to log off Skype on my PC, go into my router, change my MAC address to get a new IP address, because when you use Skype, there's a vulnerability on Skype where anyone can find your last used IP address on Skype, and as such, you have to protect yourself. Or else you're going to get DDoSed.
That's right. That's just ridiculous. I mean,
But then again, if you are going to be popular and be doing that kind of live stream stuff, I guess maybe some of that might be coming towards you.
It can be, but it doesn't mean it's unreasonable for people to want the developer to do something about it. I mean, I remember, I think it was Level Cap made a video talking about when he wanted to be removed from BF3 Stalker, and he said like he couldn't even play a match anymore. He couldn't even get through a match to record footage because so many people were trying to take him out and mess him up the entire time. I mean, that could be very frustrating just because like somebody gets popular because they're good at the game, they're entertaining, they have a unique angle, like they knife everybody, and then people just want to ruin their day just because it's the internet, and people do that because they don't have enough going on in their real life. But it's so frustrating and so immature, but it is an unfortunate reality. So I guess kudos to DICE for working on it. Is there any other big changes to privacy other than making your current server private?
I don't think so. I think that was it.
Can people see your previous matches? Like see what servers, could they figure out what servers you like to play on? Do we know?
Not on Battlelog? I'm not sure. I don't think you can on Battlelog, but
you would be able to on the third-party NHE
Yes.
websites. They still have that data available.
Well, yeah, I hope that it is better for you guys. I mean,
on the note of privacy and modern games, this was actually a huge problem in DayZ as well, because being a mod,
stream snipers.
Being a mod, all of the Arma 2 UI was still there. You could see people chatting and figure out where a player was on the server list. And once you got in the server with your hacks, you see the person who's streaming, and you see that they're let's say in Starry Sobor. The map's only so big. You bring up your hack map. There's only 3 players in Starry Sobor. You just hop around with your teleports till you find them and kill them right there on the stream. And you think it's hilarious. There's actually going to be some privacy changes to the UI in Arma 3 to help prevent some of that.
That's good. I mean, I guess for Arma, that was kind of a shot in the dark. Like, you didn't have that many people live streaming Arma before then, so this must be a new, exciting problem with douchebags.
I'm really hoping that with the advent of streaming and with YouTube and more social, more smaller people who are broadcasting games, I hope we're going to see more privacy stuff in the future, because it really needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like 20 years from now when when daskro's the John Madden of Battlefield, and I mean, we really are on the cusp of a lot of this stuff. Think just 5 years ago, pretty much none of this existed. I mean, people got all worked up over watching streams of StarCraft, but that was about it. I mean, we're on the very cusp of this, so I imagine a lot of this is just the growing pains of the esports scene, and as it turns into something bigger and bigger, I would assume most of these problems are going to get worked out. I mean, you don't have problems in NFL games with people like running into the stands and shooting players while they're playing and running off. Like, they've got most of those security holes figured out by now. So I imagine on the computer, even though they're not exactly the same type of situation, I imagine a lot of that's going to get worked out over the coming years, and we'll come up with better ways to stream-proof games. I hope so. I mean, for everyone's sake who has to play them or who makes a living doing it, that's got to be the worst. If you make a living playing Battlefield and you're pretty much at the mercy of whatever jerk happens to be online at the moment, that really sucks.
Then your job and your fun time is screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, about to say something?
I think he was just coughing.
No, I'm good.
Do you still have the PAX plague there, daskro?
I do.
Yeah, apparently him and Jake got sick, and I didn't. I don't know how that happened.
You're the carrier.
I actually felt kind of sick before I went to PAX, but I quashed it with a lot of drugs, and I felt great the whole time. except if I drank a little too much, then I felt queasy the next morning. But...
You hear that, kids? Drugs help.
They clean this flu out with a little bit of crack.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, please, no one listen to anything Joel just said.
Just in general, don't listen to Joel.
As we're winding down the podcast tonight, I actually want to mention for anyone listening live, we are playing Arma at 9:00, as we mentioned last week, and we've been talking about on Twitter. So if you are a fan and you'd like to play Arma with us, just be on the lookout. I'll be tweeting out a TeamSpeak server and password and everything. And please, if anyone's listening and you're like, hey, it'd be fun to crash and ruin that for them because I've been listening to them talk about DDoSing and stuff.
No.
Please don't. I would personally appreciate it if you don't screw up my computer tonight.
Well, we're done for. That's it. You asked.
But as we're closing out, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about PAX, about the next month or two with Battlefield releasing, anything like that, or do you think we're pretty well covered?
I think we're good.
I wanted to share one tidbit with daskro, because I think the last time we had him on, we had a whole bunch of gun discussion about Far Cry 3, I think it was, back in the day. Mm-hmm. Have you heard, daskro? I'm sure you're not probably following the DayZ news, but how ammunition is going to work in the final version of DayZ Standalone?
Is it based? It's if as you reload a magazine, it holds the number of rounds within that given magazine, and if you want to use that magazine again, it's gonna have whatever rounds were left in it. Is that right?
Well,
that's correct. And actually, you have to preload magazines before you get into combat. You find ammunition in the actual cardboard boxes, and you gotta bring up your inventory, open up the box, and like use the animation to take your thumb and put your rounds in. So you gotta prep your mags for you go out on a hike to go get supplies, because if you run out of mags in the middle of a firefight, you're down to your fist. You're screwed. And I can't think of any other game that's actually had that. You find the ammo source and load the magazine separately.
They concept. Because that's not fun in a deathmatch game. That's the worst. But in DayZ, it'll work.
Yeah, it would not work for many games, but I'm excited about that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like to see them do that for Battlefield and see how many people rage quit the game.
The Humvee pulls up and pops the trunk, and there's this loose ammo inside. You gotta start loading your magazine.
Yeah.
I want to know when's someone going to release a mod to let people reload. Oh, there goes Joel.
Joel.
To let people do reloading in DayZ, like reloading their cartridges.
Okay, that would be awesome. I would build a campsite with like a reloading press, and you had a random chance of like measuring it wrong and causing an explosion.
If that does have a significant difference on combat, it'll hopefully be that people won't just empty their guns into the first living thing they see, because it'll actually be inconvenient. Anything to make killing random people more inconvenient is good. Because
it's weird to say it, but I'm actually like looking forward to the first moment where I'm in a firefight and maybe it's like more guys than I expected or something, and it gets really intense, and I hear that click and I realize that all my mags are dry. That's going to be an awesome moment.
While you're like laying behind a bus going, thoop, 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 thoop. Then you get down to you get halfway down in the PMAG, you're like, oh, they're starting to get hard now, and your fingers are getting numb. And
I hope there's actually like a loud sound effect for it too, so that you get into a firefight, it gets quiet for a second, and if you listen, you can hear like the thunk thunk like around the corner. You know it's time to charge. Take him out now while he's reloading. It'd be a great moment. But I had to have just a quick moment of gun discussion. And there's 3 gun guys on here. We had to have it.
my internet went out, thankfully, during the gun part. I got DDoSed.
Good choice, guys. If you're gonna DDoS one of us, at least pick Joel.
No, Joel, you're on a Mac. They can't be DDoSed. You didn't know that?
Oh, well, that's good. So it's just my internet.
Yeah, there's actually a new DayZ dev blog was released during the podcast, so you can be on the lookout for a casual conversation coming out fairly shortly where we will talk about that. But we're not going to talk about it on this podcast. But thank you to daskro and Mantis for coming on this evening.
have my 90 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's all right.
This is the part of the podcast.
We have some stars with us tonight, so I know we're a little bit shaky and nervous.
Oh, yes, I am. Called 90 Seconds with Joel, where Joel talks about whatever he wants for 90 seconds. Joel, go.
It's just stupid, but it's just a question. I thought it'd be kind of funny. This is the question. Would you... This is a would you rather question, okay?
Oh, no.
Oh boy,
You can
can't wait.
Just shut up.
You can't even get it out. This is not going to be good.
Just shut up. Okay. You get every single PC game, everything free, computer free for the rest of your life, but you have to run the game on only medium setting.
Sure.
Or
what's the or?
Or you have to buy your own
gotta be an or.
computers.
Okay, confession. I thought about it for a second.
I would do free. Are you kidding me? If my computer's free
So
and all my
every single
games
game
are free,
you can only play it on medium.
every single game, yeah, I'll play on medium.
On second thought, medium settings on modern games look pretty great, so
Yeah,
I think I'd be okay with
Every
that.
game free, yeah, that's not even a question.
I think I could live with that too.
Yeah.
Not me. No, I wouldn't do it.
Oh, says the guy who has green screened in Battlefield footage behind him because a normal webcam setup wouldn't be enough.
No, it's a DV camera using an ever media capture card.
Yeah, you've taken webcamming to a whole new level. So yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think I could either, just because of Half-Life 3. Eventually, whenever it comes out.
Oh man.
It'll look
Yeah.
good
It would be
regardless.
so hard to not be able to no, I can't play this to see what it looks like. But
What about
That was-
every
that was
game
all I-
you get free, you have to play on medium. So if you wanted to play a game, you'd have to buy it. If you wanted to play on
I
medium.
was
Yeah,
gonna say, hey, I was gonna make it worse and say you had to play it on low for free, but I was like, that's
Ew.
No.
yeah, that would be very hard.
Gross.
That'd be hard.
All right. Well, thank you for that delightful question, Joel.
I'll be here all night, folks.
As we're closing down, how can people find you guys online? Not if they want to DDoS you and take your tags and everything, but how can they follow the things you produce and put out for them?
Dasgro's Skype IP is...
Mantis, how can people find you?
I'm on YouTube at www.youtube.com/oddbox701. And I'm on Twitter at Mantis701, and I'm on Facebook at oddbox701.
And daskro?
Again, this is daskro, and you can find me on youtube.com/daskro, on twitch.tv/daskro, on Twitter, daskro. Actually, every social media site you can find me at daskro.
Tumblr?
Thanks for having me.
Actually, my Twitch, I forgot my Twitch, is Mantis701 as well.
Mantis701, awesome. Okay.
Zynga/Daskro.
When Battlefield 4's beta comes out, I'm sure we'll be talking to you guys about how it's going and how fun it is and if it's horribly broken yet and everything else. But thank you guys for coming on tonight. Thank you to everyone who watched. And as always, you can follow us. You can write into the show, casualshenanigans@gmail.com, tweet at casualshenaniga, no N on the end. It's a Twitter limit. It's not.
Curse
anyway.
you, Twitter!
You can follow me at Germ Gaming on YouTube and Twitter, and Evil Viking 13 on YouTube and Evil Viking on Twitter. And Joel has stuff, but you shouldn't follow him because it's all weird.
just came out with a new Pro MLG tips for Battlefield 3.
He did. I almost made it through all of this one. You can find him online at Boundless MP. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on, and we will see everybody later.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Yep.
Thanks. See ya.
Stay casual.